It's crazy how much things can change, man. Brian Daboll looks like the madman that can't keep coaches together. After Wink Martindale parted ways with the Giants, stuff came out about Wink Martindale, and now stuff comes out about Brian Daboll, man. But before we dive into that, man, subscribe down below. Road to 10K still active, man. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, man. If you're new to the channel, man, like up the video, comment down below your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, the voice of the New York Giants fans. We out here. Now let's talk about Brian Daboll, man. So some interesting reports came out after this whole situation with Wink Martindale, and we know how much got leaked out about Wink, talking about him cursing out the people, cursing out the coaches, storming out of there after they fired his right-hand man, and we know how sour that thing ended. Well, now some other stuff comes to light, makes Brian Daboll doesn't look too well, to be honest. All this came out from Pat Leonard, by the way. But now Washington's offense was driving, aided by Kayvon Thibodeau roughing the passer penalty outside the red zone. And that's when Brian Daboll started playing the blame game on Martindale and the defensive staff. You're going to lose this game just like you lost us the Jets game. Now, that's a pretty bold statement. Pretty bold and a pretty wild statement. Because let me remind you, the Jets game was a dominant performance by the Giants defense. The defense shut them out all game. Yes, there was a couple mistakes made on that last drive that allowed them to tie up the game and go into overtime. But nevertheless, the offense was putrid. We finished the game with -9 passing yards. Yet Daboll, quote unquote, wants to talk about the Giants defense and talk about how they lost us the game. Talk about Wink Martindale and his staff. It's a pretty crazy statement. Do I believe all of it? I don't. But I do know, at least looking at it from where we stand, we know Brian Daboll can get heated. We know he kind of can lose it sometimes, especially when you see it against refs, and especially certain times you see it against their own players. A little mistake, a little flag, you see him ripping their heads off about it. So, am I shocked to hear it? No. But at the same time, too, that's a pretty crazy statement to make to your colleague as a coach, no matter what the temperature is. It's kind of crazy to say. It also continues to talk about how, Daboll finger points out of the ordinary, continues to talk about other teams, and, even Joe Shane had to listen in, put on a headset, and really listen in on what's going on. Other GMs have practiced it as well, as they talk about Nick Caserio from the Texans and also the Cowboys. But at the same time, you don't see this often. You don't see it happening all the time. So to know that Joe Shane was probably listening in on certain moments that Brian Daboll was saying, clearly whatever was going on, it didn't move him that much. And granted, Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are a couple, right? They're a compact unit. But if Daboll was saying some crazy stuff, I find it hard to believe that Joe Shane would continue to ride for it. That's what I think. That's personally what I think. I don't think all of this is true. But at the same time, too, I do know that Brian Daboll can be a hothead. Now, how does this paint his picture? How does this make him look? Is he the right coach for us? Listen, this upcoming year is going to be crucial for Brian Daboll and this staff. But not only this staff, Joe Shane as well. The development of this team and where this team is going to be headed is going to be very important this year. And Daboll, barring a crazy Super Bowl run, he could be looking at the hot seat by the end of the season. I don't want to call it quits too soon, but if he has a season like he had last year, and who knows if more stuff like this comes out, man, Daboll could be looking at his time being done in New York, and who knows about Joe Shane. It really can. It's crazy how a leaf turns so quickly in the NFL, man. You go from 1 year being coach of the year to possibly being on a hot seat, but that just shows how quick this league moves. And once again, from Brian Daboll, for us as fans, I know at some points we were getting tired of it. Now, when you see some stuff like this come out, if you think he was talking about this with Wink Martindale, what do you think was going on with the offense? The offense being the worst in the league, one of the worst in the league all around. Mike Kafka was probably getting some of that too. Now, Mike Kafka, oddly enough, is getting a lot of head coaching interviews. Do I expect him to get one? No. But who knows? He might be out as an offensive coordinator, and we might have to go fill one. But all I know is no matter who is our offensive coordinator, I want to see Brian Daboll call plays for us. And there was reports in there saying that sometimes he took over the play calling, and sometimes he took away that right from a couple different people on the staff. Shea Turney, also Mike Kafka. But nevertheless, this offense was one of the worst, and one of the worst we've seen. I want Brian Daboll to put his fingerprints on this offense and see what he can do. You're the head coach. You're supposed to be the offensive guru. You need to fix it. That's what I wanted to see out of Brian Daboll midseason. We didn't really get to see that, and we don't know how much we've seen that. I want to see him go out and call plays next year, no matter who the offensive coordinator is. I want to see him call plays. This offense needs to be better, and if you are an offensive-minded coach, there's no way you could have one of the bottom-ranked offenses in the league. There's no way. And I'm sure you guys stand on that as well. A couple of other housekeeping things. The Giants, obviously, we're not going to know what they're going to do with their draft pick. There's been reports circulating, which I don't know how true they are. Joe Shane possibly looking into trading to number 1. And I will say, last video, it did pretty well. I appreciate y'all for who tuned in. And if you're new from that video, I appreciate you for subbing up. Y'all were killing me for saying that possibly trading for Kayvon Thibodeau for that first overall pick. And I don't think it's that crazy. You guys realize what comes with the first overall pick? The first overall pick and possibly the best player in the draft. That's what you get when you trade up for the number 1. And I know it sounds, obviously duh. But when I talked about trading Kayvon Thibodeau and 2 first-round picks, you guys were looking at me like I'm crazy. Let me know down in the comments, man. 2 first-round picks, so that means this year's and next year's, and Kayvon Thibodeau, you wouldn't make that trade for the number 1 overall pick? Come on, what are we talking about right now? Let's look at what happened last year. They traded up. The Bears traded away their pick. The Panthers traded up for number 1. The Panthers had to give up DJ Moore, 2 firsts, a second, and a third, I believe, for the number 1 overall pick. So Kayvon Thibodeau and a couple of draft picks, and you're not making that move. I understand it's a crapshoot to draft a quarterback that high. You don't know what it's going to turn out to be. But if you hit, you hit. Let's look at what our options are. If we don't trade up, what are our options? I talked about it in our last video. I'm not going to beat on it too much. But I talked about it. If those top 3 quarterbacks are gone in the first 3, I don't think you see them going quarterback in the first round. And who knows if they make a move in the second. There's a lot of talk about number 1, trading up to number 1. I trust this regime. And if they trade up to do so, you're getting Caleb Williams. Why wouldn't you? That's just the way I think about it. But I will say I'll be making another video talking about possibly who we can draft outside of a QB at the number 6 overall pick. I'm just letting you know right now, Malik Neighbors is the favorite to me. Neighbors, explosive, extremely nice route running. I like Malik Neighbors. And last time we drafted a wide receiver out of LSU, you know how that turned out. So that's just my thoughts on that. And last thing I want to touch on, man, if y'all didn't see on my YouTube short, man, Deonte Banks posted a highlights video, and my voice was clipped in the beginning of it. Banks might have found themselves a star in the first round this past draft in Deonte Banks. Now, first off, shout out to you, Tay Banks. I appreciate you. I don't think he knows it was me. That's the only issue, man. I didn't get no tag or anything. I'm not even looking for the credit. As long as Deonte Banks knows that that's me in the beginning of the video, I find it crazy to be involved in that altogether. I'm just letting you know right now there was no communication on that, but hey, man, Deonte, if you find your way watching this video or you find your way watching it off of that, make sure you hit me up. 10 minutes on the channel would go crazy. If y'all see that coming soon, man, let's see. But ultimately, man, it's extremely cool to see that. And when I think about it, I'm just a regular guy like you guys. So I definitely wanted to take the approach. And I think my slogan moving forward, man, is going to be the voice of the Giants fans. That's just what I am, the voice of the Giants fans. I come on here and I give my opinions. I give my takes. I make my videos on players that I like, players that I don't like. But at the end of the day, I'm just the voice of the Giants fans. So I'm going to roll with that, man. If you haven't already, subscribe down below. We're at the 10K still active, man. We're almost at 2K once again. Help me get that goal. Like the video. Comment down below your thoughts, man. And stay tuned for more content coming soon. I will catch you on the next one. Peace.